folks, welcome to another edition of Broken Brains, hosted by the Mac Parkman Foundation, where we focus on the issue of repetitive brain trauma in the forms of repetitive head impacts from contact sports, repetitive blast exposure for our military veterans, and what it's doing to the brains of these individuals and the resulting mental health epidemic that needs to be addressed. And we reach out to scientists and researchers and people that are suffering from these conditions in order to bring you the most relevant and up-to-date information so that you can be informed about these issues and be prepared to address them if they ever impact their life. And you'd be surprised how often they really do. So we're back here, and we're here today with our producer, Deny Caballero, who a lot of people don't know is the heart and soul behind this. This man is amazing, 7th Group combat vet, has his own in-depth, real personal story that we got to bring on the show one day, but understands the issues of our repetitive blast exposure better than most, because him, like myself, have all been impacted by this from our years of military service. So thanks for coming on the show as our producer too, Dany. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Good, man. You know, ducking and moving, man, just running and gunning like we always do, trying to, advocate, raise awareness for these causes that are so near and dear to our hearts, because we live it, man. We live it and we breathe it. And dude, you are somebody that is always moving and working towards, fighting for legislation, fighting for change, informed consent. And in the past 48 hours, man, and I have to let our audience know, once we're off recording, Bruce doesn't go to take a nap. He doesn't go to just hang out. This man is constantly working. So pinning him down to do a podcast, it's almost impossible.
I have caused you so much pain, dude. I feel so bad, man. It's like the congressman called and I got to go, like, dude, really? So,
yeah, but that's the thing, man.
Your patience.
That's the thing that people don't understand is you really are boots on the ground making things happen. And tell us a little bit, what have you been up to these last 48 hours? Because you were just, at the worst place in my imagination.
You have got to see the new promotional video for the tailgate. So our audience probably knows that we're going to host the first tailgate for our special operations, and our focus is veterans' mental health, all veterans, not just special operations, and to bring awareness of the suicide epidemic that has not abated. We still have a huge problem because we haven't changed the way that we address treatment for mental health. And we also we have minimal awareness of the fact that our veterans could be suffering mental health as a result of their brain, by their brain being impacted by repetitive blast exposure and repetitive head impact. So anyways, this tailgate is getting pretty crazy, man. The team is putting together, we got tailgate. We got big tents. We got a massive stage coming in. And so people know this parking lot was donated by the Washington Commanders ownership team themselves.
Wow.
They heard about our mission. They're like, dude, spot on, man. Let's take care of those veterans. So they gave us an entire parking lot. And this is a joint tailgate because mental illness has no favorites. So even though I'm an Army guy, and Army's looking pretty good this year, this is go Army Navy. All right, we want everybody there. And I think of last count, we got 2 Academy classes bringing all their people to our event. And I think one of the Naval Academy classes looking at right now. And so we want to bring them all in. And the whole focus is let's talk about these issues because they're not going away. And we have a big problem, Denny, because funding's drying up. A lot of Americans think, oh, man, we're out of Afghanistan. We're out of Iraq. These wars are over.
Yeah.
And for guys like you, these wars are not going to end anytime soon. They're never going to end in certain aspects of your life that you have to deal with every day. And so monies are drying up right now. People aren't as interested. It's not on the front page all the time. Yet we've got a growing need for services and treatments that can help veterans with their brains. So,
absolutely. And that's why this tailgate is so important, man, to raise awareness, and such a great venue to get the people out there to hear the mission of the Mac Parkman Foundation. That's the reality. Like you just said, people, when it's not top of mind, when we're not showing news stories of people, boots on the ground in Afghanistan, it becomes back page news. It becomes an afterthought. It becomes a thing that's on the back burner. But the reality is, every year, countless veterans end their time in service and they get out and they feel lost. They feel abandoned by our nation. They feel abandoned by the services. And who's going to be there for them? Who's going to be advocating for them? Who's going to be talking about it? But the other beautiful thing about the Mac Parkman Foundation is you guys are also talking about youth sports. These are things that are integrally, like, they're linked together, because you get out, you got a family, you got kids, and what are your kids gonna go do? They're gonna play sports.
Right. Yep. No, absolutely. No, and we all think more is better. That's America, right? More is better. This is why our kids and our veterans are both suffering, because more is better. I mean, we
Yes.
look at the veteran side. I mean, when you join the Army, not like me, I was a Cold War guy, like Ronnie Reagan years. We had sticks, right? I mean, we didn't have bombs and guns and all this. You came in P for plenty,
Yeah.
right? If we train harder, we're going to be more prepared for combat. That means that since you joined the military, and everybody that joined the military, even from the mid-90s or early 90s, that were still in like leadership positions, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, enrolled into these wars, their exposure and your exposure to repetitive blast exposure never ended. They were either in combat or training for combat. And when we train for combat, you might as well be in it, because we train hard, bro.
Absolutely.
And we are hurting ourselves and just starting to realize this. And we have to change. We have to change the way we're dealing with this. And we are, and it's, the time is not to point fingers. The time is not to say, well, they should have done this and the VA did that, whatever, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, we are just understanding it. How do we make it right? How do we go back? And there's 5 gaps. And here's what you brought up that's so that's so key. The 5 gaps for veterans are the same 5 gaps that we have for kids. Number 1, awareness and education. We don't even know that this exists. Whether it's RHI or RBE, our medical, nursing, and psychiatric and suicide prevention communities are completely unaware that the kids with mental illness or the veterans with mental illness could have a damaged brain.
Yes.
So what are they doing? Have some drugs, baby. Big Pharma's got a pill for everything. Oh, does that create a side effect? Hey, I got another pill for that.
Yes.
We come across veterans with 13 bags coming out of one VA appointment, man, with bags of medication, because that's all the VA knows. And we have to change the mindset. They're not doing anything wrong or intentional. There's just the book, right? Hey, man, we got to go buy the book, right? And the book says drugs and therapy. Well, so that's the first thing. We got to educate. We got to create awareness in the soldiers that they could have an issue, as well as our medical and psychiatric practitioners. Then the second problem we have is diagnosis. The assumption is that you have to be dead, and we got to look at your brain in order to say, yeah, you were impacted by RBE or RHI. In 2019, the National Institution of Neurological Strokes and Disorders, NINDS, approved what was called the Traumatic Encephalopathy Syndrome Protocols. 4 questions that anybody can ask. Have you had exposure with your DD214 and your scars will tell? Or if you're a kid, you got all of the pictures that you have of playing ball and all this stuff. Do you have a mental illness? Well, you wouldn't be seeing a doctor if you didn't. Is it progressive? Yeah, that's why you're still seeing a doctor. And then the fourth question is, do you have any predisposition to mental health? If that's a no and the other 3 is yes, and you can document that you have exposure, now we can scan your brain. DTI scans, QEEG scans, functional MRI scans, SPECT scans can all show abnormalities in the brain. What does that mean? We have exposure. We have a protocol that says that you probably might have a brain damage, and now we have physical proof that we have a damaged brain. Bam, diagnosis right there. Okay. Then that leads to the third issue that we have right now is treatments. The current protocols for mental illness in most cases are SSRIs, SSNIs, benzos, whatever, and therapy, right? No problem. Could work for people that don't have RHI and RBE. But when RHI and RBE are involved, we're not treating the brain.
Yes.
And we have to exercise, treat the brain. And we now know that through supplementation and through modalities like hyperbaric oxygen and vagus nerve stimulation and photobiomodulation and transcranial magnetic stimulation and the whole list of psychedelics that are out there, these all stimulate the brain. And we have hundreds and thousands of veterans saying, this helped me. This changed my life. We have football players going, this helped me. This changed my life. And so we now have treatment options that are out there. And what I want to remind people is that you can't die from these treatment options. This is not like cancer where, oh, I'm sorry. Like when my wife, my beautiful wife, had breast cancer, right? With the first person misdiagnosed her. That would have meant
Gosh.
that she would have gotten the wrong treatment, which probably would have killed her. All
Yeah.
right. And so I can understand caution, like, oh man, we haven't tested, that's not FDA approved. When men and women are killing themselves or kids are killing themselves, we should not care about what the FDA has approved. When all these treatments have been around for decades,
Yeah.
they do not have a history of killing or harming anybody. And outside of the severe plant medicines like ayahuasca and ibogaine, which if you go in on SSRIs, you could die, right? But none of these other ones can hurt you. You can't die from ketamine. You go to sleep, you wake up, you can't die. So why not try? That's my point here, Denny, is like,
Yeah.
if we know we got a problem and we've got kids eating 9mm, right? I mean,
Yeah.
men and kids hurting themselves or acting out and getting incarcerated, we should not have to wait on the FDA. We should say, all right, these things are working in some way, shape, or form. Let's just go, right? Let's
Absolutely.
go. Okay.
It's to reflect back on one of our guests that we had on the show recently, Brant McCartney, advocating for the same thing. And with this 38 challenge and with the brain optimization lab that he's getting up and running, he's saying the same thing. Getting guys and gals to do difficult things that are uncomfortable, but they give back. The benefits are just monumental. Breathing, performance breathing, cold water exposure.
I'm hearing about this breathing stuff, man. It changes your life. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the great thing about it, a lot of the people that are advocating and are the front runners are people that are suffering themselves that found this to be healing and found it to be a performance enhancer. NFL veteran Brian Peters, he's now a breath performance coach. Way of teaching this to guys like us, we're the caveman. If he can teach us to breathe for performance, he can teach anybody. And it's those modalities. Yeah,
it's breathing, bro. It's not a drug. You don't have to put something on your head. It's breathing.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what's so cool about it. Really, it's really amazing what that. I got to try it, man. I got to say, I haven't been there yet. I got to meet Mr. Peters. I got to go to school, I guess.
Yeah,
man. I'd like to try.
I think we're gonna have to reach out and get him on the show so he can, because he puts together a really good class on performance breathing, and it's stuff that we forget how to do simple things like breathing. A vast majority of veterans are getting diagnosed with sleep apnea on the way out. And there's two different types. One's the main problem's up here. The other one is just the way you're breathing. It's just the way that you've worked. You've found yourself breathing through your mouth, and then you're literally a mouth breather, which is not the best way to breathe. It
don't work in scuba school either. Can't breathe water. I don't know why it's so hard. Can't breathe water.
But going back to what you were just talking about, the modalities are out there, but it's controversial because they're not the approved things. But you talk to anybody that's been in the field long enough, any of these doctors that had gotten their start in the VA, but then eventually left, they will tell you firsthand, I left because the treatment models were so messed up.
They're old.
We're only pushing pills. And it's got to change, man. It has to change.
And you're talking about breathing exercises, right? I mean, and actually we could do a podcast in every one of these, these phases that we got.
Yeah.
Because we still got two more to talk about.
Yes,
but you are absolutely right, man. These treatments are changing people's lives. And we have men and women mortgaging their houses to go get treatment, man. Yeah. I know one couple right now, they're $80,000 down the hole right now to buy hyperbaric oxygen tents, to get treatment, stellate ganglion blocks, to fix their own brains because the doctors can't do it. They don't have the next problem, billing codes, right? They don't have the way to prescribe this. Insurance won't cover it. That's number 5. And that's what they said, screw it, man. We love each other. We want to be better to each other. We both suffer from, one's on the domestic abuse side, one was a Navy EOD guy, and they are literally $80,000 out of pocket to fix their own brains. And this should be covered by insurance. If they're going to pay for pills, they're going to pay for therapies and therapeutic counseling. Yet you look at, and you and I are in this space. everybody we talk to has been profoundly impacted by one or more combination of these therapies,
Yeah.
and they're all in a better place. Some of them are off these drugs. Their lives are changed. I mean, when I had my mental health breakdown, and you can ask my wife, I still carry a bag of drugs with me because I'm freaked out that I might have another panic attack and I need my hydroxine or my amlodipine if my blood pressure goes up and whatever, right? And I got all these drugs that I used to have to take, and now I don't touch them, right?
Yeah.
Because I got into this just through, like everybody else, started research, talking to people, and like, hey man, try this, try that, and I did, and somehow it's improved my brain health. And you're right, man. People, when you talk to people about this that have been in the space, are like, nobody understands why this is not part of and drugs has their place, bro. I mean, they really do. If you're getting ready to end in your life, there is a place for drugs. Okay,
Absolutely.
there is.
I
And
was there, and you're 100% right, man.
Nobody's saying no drugs. I mean, I'm not getting on my RFK pedestal here, right? No drugs. No, there is a place there is a time for drugs, but it's not. Drugs are not supposed to be a lifelong. It's not a protocol, right? It's not something that you spend your life on. It gets you through a phase, and then there's so much, and so much of this stuff is natural. Mm-hmm. It's, come on, we're talking breathing and jumping in a bucket of cold water or taking a cold shower. Yeah. All of these things have huge improvements physiologically on your brain health, your overall health. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it's kind of, I'm at a loss. But I mean, as to why it hasn't happened yet, we're going to make it happen, man. I mean, we're going to be, we're pushing for legislation now. And I just came off the Hill yesterday, and I got, I think, a sponsor, and he's a pretty badass dude, Navy SEAL, Team Hell 6 guy. Yeah. Gonna be
Hell
pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's like when I texted you the other day, I was like, man, like you're proving people what, if you piss us off as Green Berets, if you get us passionate about something, we're going to break down walls. We are going to break down walls.
No, and I, dude, I was that guy with the big mouth, and I think that's what God's using me for. He's like, put that big mouth, all that hot air to work, right? Dude, I walked 8 to 10 miles yesterday in Congress. I walked every building in the Congress side, every building on the Senate side. They got a subway that takes you under the thing. I didn't. I had to have a staffer with me, and this guy ran me over there, bro. Number one, these buildings are amazing. I mean, our forefathers built some. I love touching the marble. Oh my god! So I was like, oh my god, look at the joint work, right?
Yeah.
But we invited, because you're part of our team, every congressman and every senator on the Veteran Affairs Committee. Everyone. Wow. I hit every office. And so, dude, I walked the halls yesterday. I was so, tired. And then on my last stop, I see Senator Rick Scott, Florida. I'm from Florida, right?
Yeah.
I'll just stop. He's not on the Veteran Affairs Committee. So I talking to the guys. So I'm inviting all the staffers. 50% off if you're a staffer. You get smart on this issue, right, man?
Yeah.
All right. They all want to. I was like, $25, all the barbecue and booze you can drink. And that'll get any 25-year-old excited, right? Like, I'm going to be there, right? So then he tells me, he says, well, wait a minute. Well, Senator Scott's not on the Veterans Affairs Committee, but he's on the Armed Services Committee. Mm-hmm. And I completely forgot about that, man. There's another 20 senators that are on that committee only. So now I got to go back, or we're going to be email. We're going to get all of them. And all you got to do is tell them, hey, the parking lot was donated by the Washington Commanders, and they know this is when you got that kind of support, that means something to them. We got a VIP section for them, man. It's going to be, it's going to be so much fun.
That is awesome, man. And it's those events right there that people need to understand. Like, you got to go out and support organizations, nonprofits are doing work. Like, if you pause right now, go to the episode description. There's a link there. You got to just anything that you can contribute, help the cause, because it's going to the greater good. It's making changes. It's helping people's lives change for the better. And man, we haven't even talked about the book or the app enough. Like, that's the thing about this. Like, man, we got an app, we got a book. Like, and it's the other thing is, and it's not a book that you get lost in the scientific detail. That's the important thing. the book that you can pick up, and you said it perfectly the other day, grab a bag of popcorn, grab your favorite drink, and just sit back and get some information.
2 nights, man. 2 nights. And you could be smarter than most of the doctors and nurses on this one issue. Not that they're not smart. They're just not informed. And, for the reader, and we're coming out with an updated version of the book. I'm working on it right now. I got one more chapter to research
Nice.
and write. But, when I lost my son, or we lost our son, I was in a hole and I was all alone, man. I mean, I shouldn't have been alone.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. There was a couple of days I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be here no more, man. I'm reading all this material. I'm finding out that number one, why didn't I know this? This makes sense. And then I look back at some of my, decisions when I said I want to take my son out of sports in 9th grade because he had his 3rd concussion. And then they said, then he, he did the doctor thing. He went back in. He never had another one. Well, what would have happened if I would have pulled him? Right. And you start reliving the past. When your kid is not in your life, you relive the past. And even though you would say, you were a great dad, you're a great mom, you focus on those times when you didn't say the right thing, you didn't do the right thing. And even though, in my relationship personally with my son, there was not hardly, there was just a handful. I focus on them, right? I'm just like, and I can't get rid of them because I was like, and it wouldn't have made a difference, in the end state. But as I was reading all these books, like I was getting books on schizophrenia and mental illness, and I read them all, read research papers. I was like, well, no wonder parents don't, like the movie Concussion came out. Well, it was Will Smith, and it was a great movie. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think there was not enough education on that this could happen to your kid.
Yes.
Right. It was a drama focused on a struggling NFL guy and a disease that up until even today is only associated with NFL guys. Right. Yep. We had to drive the point home that this starts in childhood. And what parent wouldn't want to know about these risks? But what parent wants to read a 200-page doctor book with words long? When I started researching, I spent half my time in the Google dictionary going, what the hell is traumatic encephalopathy, and all these crazy words that I had to learn. Hell, I forgot half of them already. But we wrote a book. We wrote an 88-page book for parents. It's got pictures in it because I'm a soldier. Denny's a soldier. We like pictures, man. You got a book's got to have pictures. Even my Bible's got pictures in it, right?
Absolutely.
So. But we wanted to make it informative for parents to read and go, okay, I got it. Now I can decide whether my son or daughter is going to do X or Y. Because up until that point, it's just automatic, man. Yeah, you can play contact sports as we did. And we invested in the pads. We invested in the helmets. We invested in the training. We invested in and don't work. So yeah, the book, I'm working on a revised edition. We're going to be putting in some new chapters on research and the traumatic encephalopathy syndrome protocols that we didn't put in the first book. We're going to have a chapter for veterans just in case, just to put that in there. Yeah. Going to update the whole book with RHI because when I started writing it, it was all subconcussive trauma.
Yeah.
Yep. And then repetitive ed impacts became the term. And so we're going to update the book. We might add another 10 pages to it. Sorry for all you Army guys out there.
10 more pages now.
That's another beer. Come on, get another beer, read the book, and shush up, and do your thing. But now we're very excited about, and the books, and just so you know, it's free. Book's free, man. We don't make any money off the book. We don't want to make any money book. What we want is people to read, people informed, and people that can, an educated population. That's what we want.
Yeah. And if you pause the video right here, you'll see there's a QR code right there. Just take a screenshot. If you're watching on your phone, take a screenshot, get the book. It's that simple to be informed these days. And it's purposely, it's consumable. It's consumable. It's not a digest where it's going to be comprehensive on everything. Like if you want to dive into that world, you can do that. But I'm telling you, what you need is something that's quick, that you can start understanding the big concepts right now, which I didn't know until I was going through my own nightmare, which just happens to be a lot of the cases for people. Like if you're a parent and you have kids in sports, take the time, take a few moments to read this book. And even better, like when this app launches, download the app. That's one thing that everybody is like, I'm juggling 3 of these things. So I'm also more worried about the cancer exposure from these freaking radiation machines.
Right? Yeah, man.
But they're a useful tool. You download an app on about anything these days. You can do your homework from your phone, but downloading the app when it comes out, that's
Oh, it's
another
out.
useful tool. It's out.
It's
Yeah,
out.
that's right. It's out right now.
Yep.
What's the name of the app again, Bruce?
Headsmart.
Headsmart.
You can fly it. You can find it on the Apple Store, the Google Store. You can download it. It's all free. It's actually got the book in it. You know, it's got a link to the book. Or I think the book might be in it. And you can read it from there. And, you know, hats off to my sister, Suzanne. She put that whole thing together, man. You know, I helped with some content, but she was 90% of the hard work and the whole team at the Mac Parkman Foundation. But look up Headsmart. It's from the Mac Parkman Foundation. There's a couple other Headsmart apps. A lot of them are like old and stuff that don't focus on this. But it is a one-stop shop for concussion awareness, because your child will have a concussion. There's no doubt about it, man. And now what we know now is that there's a right way to do it, and we didn't do all of the right things. I mean, we saw the doctor, 2 weeks of rest. Okay, back on the field. The doctor cleared him, right? So, you know, go back to the doctor. We didn't know about a post-concussion syndrome survey. We didn't know about repetitive impacts. We didn't know about monitoring our child, and that, you know, that if, you know, after more than one concussion, you could have, and Mac did have, you know, some changes to his personality that, you know, we associated with him maturing, like, you know, not spending a lot of time, not enough time with us, you know, being distant, being apathetic. It was apathy is what it was. Yeah. And we didn't, you know, if we always question him on, you know, how you doing, son? What's going on? I'm fine. You know, he just play it off, you know. Yeah. But that app is for you, the parent, to not only properly treat a concussion and don't go to your doctor or nurse, go to a concussion specialist. We have a search app on there. You can look it up, put in concussion specialist. Do not play around with your child's brain. And concussion is a serious injury. It's not the headache that I thought it was. I mean, I've had so many concussions as a rugby player and as a special operations guy. You know, I tend to associate them as just another bad hit to the old noggin. Why am I stupider than I was last year? Right now, you know, not associating, but they're a serious brain injury, and you really need to take your kid to a concussion specialist, somebody that knows what they're doing, and then look at our app, because there's a lot of things that we recommend you do that not even a concussion specialist will recommend. And it's all about taking care of that little individual that means more to you than anything in life itself.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about the show is we've had some amazing guests that are just home runs, man. It's just and they are specialists. They are specialists when it comes to the brain. And that's why I love bringing new episodes out for the public to listen to, because you're not getting everybody that comes on the show is impactful in their own way. And when we talk to the medical professionals, these aren't guests that have 1 or 2 years in their specialty. These are like the Super Bowl champs of their field. And that's what people need to understand. I was ignorant of the information. I just thought a doctor's a doctor, that they're way educated. No, you need specialists. We all need to be able to advocate and be a little vulnerable and ask for a referral if you're in the military, or if you're going to your primary care provider, you're going to your general doctor. Be willing to say, like, hey, Doc so-and-so, you're a great person for, you know, scrapes, bumps, and for normal things, but I need you to refer me to a brain specialist.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a neurologist. Like, the waiting line for neurologists right now is through the roof, right? And so people, you know, and that's I don't know if that's like a pharma thing, but that's the natural progression. Oh, you get a concussion, go see a neurologist. No, there are concussion specialists. There's concussion centers around the country that you can go to and talk to somebody, and they can do telemedicine a lot. You know, they can talk to you about, hey, you know, a concussion is a serious thing. So take it. You're right. You know, and the medical and when we go, like, I went to the VA, when I went to them about my mental health issues, I had to educate them on RBE. And right now, doctors are so overwhelmed that
Yep.
you are, as a parent, I'm sorry, you have to be a concussion specialist. You have to know more, because there is a very, very good chance that when you go in there, that your doctor or nurse is going to treat this just like a mild TBI and not recognize it for the actual brain injury it is. You have to be the proponent, the advocate for your child. You need to be educated. So that's why the app is in there. And Denny, that's where we're going to put together something for vets too. So when they go in, because outside of the TBI clinics, repetitive blast exposure and mental illness, they're not associated, bro. They're not associated. They're not trained. You have to go in there with your paperwork and your testimony and your story to get them to look at these treatments. And as we can expand coverage, because some of them we hear TRICARE, like TMS is covered by TRICARE every now and then. HBOT might be covered every now and then. And so that's cool, right? But unless they can have, and if they tell you, and we didn't talk about the other two gaps there, we can do entire podcasts on this, but billing codes. Hey, here's the issue.
Man.
We got billing codes for TBI, bro. And if TBI was just recognized by CDC as a chronic condition. So there is, and that's what we're pushing as part of the legislation, is that we have to recognize that if our repetitive blast exposure is an issue, which it is a condition, which it is something that happens to us and impacts our brain. We don't need a brand new billing code. We just stuff it under TBI. It is a form of TBI. It's a repetitive, mild TBI that happens thousands of times in our careers and impacts our brain. It's a TBI. Yeah. You have TBI billing codes, shoving it there, and then we can get you, get you insurance. Well, we can get you. Then we can prescribe the treatments, and now that's the number 4. I love the way this segued. And then number 5 is we've got to get insurance to cover this. Yes. You should not be out of pocket for treatments that can save your life, that can save your marriage, that can save your relationship with your kids, or in the case of a lot of veterans that I talk to, help put it back together because it's already been busted up, and that's where, and that's why we have to make the insurance coverage. And that's why legislation is so important, is that we want to mandate this, that these treatments, I guess what? You paid for chiropractor. You know how hard it was to get a chiropractor in the 90s, bro? That's just rich doctor stuff. No, that the doctor community fought those guys left or right. Well, guess what's covered now, right? As a matter of fact, there's chiropractics in in 1999, a long time ago, they were just starting to put them in the medical treatment facilities. You can go to the doctor on base, so you get a chiropractic work, you get it all done. That's where we're going with these modalities. There's no reason why we can't have a TMS machine, a hyperbaric chamber, and all this in any military treatment facility you go. There's no reasons why we can't leverage these brain institutions that are around this country that specialize in brain care. There's no reason why we can't even buy these things for veterans, get them their own HBOT. It's like $8,000 and then put it in there. And then you just saved, not including all the mental illness and all the other bills that are going to come from this. You can, dude, these things are not expensive and the prices will come down over time,
Yeah.
So, good point, man.
It needs to change. And it'll, like anything else, it's just a slow rollout. It's just a slow rollout for things to go. But it's individuals like yourself that are out there leading the way and fighting for change. That's the thing people don't realize. Podcasts are great for general awareness and being passionate and bringing great and to educate the public. But where things actually start changing are through the impactful work that you and the Mac Parkman Foundation are doing, actually pushing the line and getting through it, like we say in the military, like those phase lines. It's getting through it and moving the ball 1 inch, another inch, and constantly advocating. And that's what you guys are doing, which is what we all need to be able to rally around and support. And I get it. Times are tough. Funds are tight, but if you can afford $1 here, $1 there, please give to the foundation. Please be willing to go to the website and donate, because every dollar counts. And it's needed. We're not going to be able to advocate and continue the fight without your support. And every download, every metric is vitally. Everything is important. Everything, whether you're sitting there at home and you just go and click the like button, that matters too. Help share this, promote it, put it out there in the world, because you never know whose lives you're going to change. We've already seen the change and the outpour through social media. People are rallying around the show and willing to come on and comment and say, hey, thank you for bringing this up. One of the episodes that gets shared the most are the one you did with Dr. Mark Gordon, because it shocks people. They're like, holy cow, like, I've got family members who are dealing with this. Thank you for finally putting it out there. Thank you for sharing this. So,
Dr. Gordon. But, Denny, what you have brought into this foundation, I mean, we tried a podcast years ago, but I couldn't do it. It was hard, man. I just lost my boy, and I tried, and I kept talking about my mistakes, and it was powerful. You have brought a level of awareness to our foundation that is unprecedented, and we can't thank you. I mean, you are absolutely dedicated to our mission. You're dedicated to what we believe in, and you're also, you've happened to live through a lot of this yourself. I mean, you've got your own story that I definitely want to bring on the podcast. I want people to understand your story, where you were, and how you had to fight back to get where you're at right now, and how you're leveraging that experience, through your own podcast and through your own efforts to change the lives of, to find these veterans. I mean, people understand that a lot of these veterans out there that are suffering in silence. They're cut off from their families. They're cut off from society. I've got friends that live in trailers up in Maine right now that I miss, that I know are hurting. We got to reach out to them and give them hope. And you're doing that. You're doing that with your participation in our podcast, which I cannot thank you enough. And you're also doing it personally. I mean, you've got your own driven story of taking you had that same realization meeting I had, realization point where you got through your travails and you said, I can help others. I am here now. I was there, down there. I'm now here. I'm not where I want to be yet, but other people need to know that they can do it too. Absolutely. And that's an amazing part of your story, bro. And I think it's a lot of people need to hear it. So I want to schedule you, on a podcast, and I want you to tell that whole thing, because you're an example, bro. You're an example of, I'm not a 9/11 soldier, bro. I mean, what happened to me with my son and my wife's struggles and life and my childhood, that, all culminated in my blow up. Your blow up was directly resulted of your commitment to this country and the sacrifice that you laid out there in the battlefield, and your ability to come back and be on this camera right now instead of being written on a piece of granite somewhere, right, is testimony to that drive that other people need to hear about. So definitely want to, I'll always
I'll give you the exclusive, my man. I'll give you the exclusive, because there's a lot of my story that I haven't shared and put out there. So I'll save it for you. I'll give you the full story, and we'll get it on Broken Brains. But it's once you get better, you realize that, yes, my story is my story, but it's also part of Bruce's story. It's also part of Dana's story. It's also part of Tony's story. Like, our stories connect us to each other. Like, human beings at our most basic, we're storytellers. Like, your suffering does nothing for you if you hold on to it. When you just hold on to your suffering, to your pain, to what you struggle with, it's just beating you down. When you overcome it, when you go from crawling to walking to running, and then you share it with the world in hopes of inspiring change, in hope of helping others, then you get to the point of understanding what your suffering truly is for. It's for helping other people. Again, it gets used a lot, but it's because it's a great reference. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. You go through something truly traumatic that changes you. It's an experience that makes you question your own faith of, like, man, why am I going through so much pain and suffering? And then you come on the other side of it and you realize that God made you go through all that tribulation, all those trials, so that you can help somebody else. And that's the beauty of life. You understand that, some parts of it are really rough, but they made me who I am, and they made me stronger so I can help somebody else when they're going through their worst. And that's the beauty of the journey, man. That's just, and you're seeing it and you're doing it every single day. And so is every other member of the team. Everybody else has their own story and their own part to help somebody else get through their worst day. And that's why the Mac Parkman Foundation is so important. and we need to rally around it and be able to support the tailgate, support every endeavor. So Bruce, again, please tell us about this tailgate before we go off.
I wish I could bring up the promo video. You gotta slip it in right now,
Yeah.
man. Right? We just did it. It's great. So for the last 2 years, all right, let me back up. So
Yeah.
about 3.5 years ago, I played a bagpipes, and my buddy kept telling me about, I got a really good friend, Jay Sapanic, chopper pilot, really good guy. And he was telling me about this rock and roll band that he knows, right? He does security for him, right? They're an AC/DC cover act. I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
I just happened to mention one day that there's an AC/DC song with a bagpipe solo. He goes, really? I go, yeah. So anyways, he was getting ready to go back to Iraq. He was on a contract to fly choppers, and we go over there to say goodbye. We're at dinner, and the lead singer's there of the band, right? And he's the manager. And Jay goes, hey, Keith, man, hey, Bruce, he's the bagpiper. I was telling you about. And he goes, dude, can you play Long Way to the Top? I go, it's only 4 notes. Yeah, I can play it. He goes, you should learn that. I go, all right. So I started playing with it, right? So I practiced it for Jay, and no kidding, about a month and a half later, we're going to go. He's in Iraq. His wife says, hey, come on out. The band's going to be in this battle of the bands. So it was a televised recording, and they had the 2 top-ranked AC/DC cover bands in the country, right?
Nice.
And this band was one. So I come in, and so we're at this pool in this fancy hotel, and they got to play 5 songs. The other guys played 5 songs at the pool, right? Just playing around. So his wife goes, go get your bagpipes. I go, Sandy, no. She goes, go get him, Pac-Man. I go, no. She goes, Pac-Man. I'm like, she's like my mom. I'm like, all right, I'll go get the darn thing. So I go get him. I come back to the pool, and the band goes, dude, you have bagpipes. I go, yeah. They go, can you play them? I go, yeah. They go, hey, play some songs. So I jammed a couple songs. They go, do you know Long Way to the Top? I go, well, yeah. They go, all right. You got to come to what do you call it? When they test the equipment, I can't.
Yeah, sound check.
Yeah, sound check tomorrow. They were doing it at the Hard Rock. I go, all right. So my wife goes, you're gonna be in the band. I go, they're not gonna put me in the band, honey. She goes, you're gonna be in the band. So she goes and gets a kill, and I'm like, all right. So I go to sound check, right? And they put some people in the office, and the guy comes, he says, all right, I need to mic up your bagpipes. How do you mic up your bagpipes? And these are wooden ones. There's not my electronic ones that I didn't have at the time. I go, I don't know. You're the sound guy. I said, well, all the sound comes up here. So we put the mic there, and we go into the song. And the people in the back go, dude, that sounded great. We crushed the rehearsal. And they come to me and go, you're in the band. I go, what do you mean I'm in the band? They go, you're in the band, and you're going to play tomorrow night. I go, on a televised TV show? They go, yeah. I go, you're crazy. I do weddings. And they go, no, you're in a band. So Denny, I can't make this up. The next night, and one thing about Mac, right? Mac never got bothered about anything, dude. Man, he could be in a playoff game, in a big wrestling match, and he would be just cool as a cucumber. Me, nice. I fall apart, man. Like my Safartec time trials, man, I was nervous as hell. Dude, I fall apart under pressure. I mean, I always pull it out, right? Whether it's scuba school, Halo school, but when it comes to test time, man, I don't have confidence. Yeah. So I'm like, shit. So I got my son's ashes with me all the time, man. And I'm like, all right, Mac, I got to be like you. I'm behind the speakers. He says, all right, we're going to play 5 songs, and you come out on stage with those bagpipes. I came out with those stage. I'll tell you what, bro. I thought I was in an AC/DC band. The crowd went bananas. I'm going to kill with some Converse tennies and a Mac Parkman shirt, right? Never miss a chance. And, dude, we crushed it. We crushed it. And we won the battle because the other guys didn't have a bagpipe. So anyway, long story short, I start playing with this band, and I find out they're playing like for $150 a night. So I start getting them gigs. And so for the last 2 years, we've been playing at a foundation event at the Army-Navy game called the Johnny Mac Foundation. And so that we got into at the end of last year, they were done. They weren't going to have it no more. Mm-hmm. We said, fine. Well, this is how God works in our life. Our law enforcement advisor, Kevin Sokola, his best friend owns the Washington Commanders, which is hosting the Army-Navy game this year. So, me, Green Beret, hey, Kevin, do you think? He goes, send me an email. So we sent an email, and they come back, and they said, and I said, look, we're a foundation focused on this unbelievably huge issue that nobody knows about. We want to bring attention to it. Our veterans are hurting. They need help. And they said, we're in. have a parking lot. We're like, what? They gave us our own parking lot in a facility right across the street from the stadium. So we're right there.
Yeah.
And they said, have at it for free. We're like, son of a gun, we're going to have a tailgate. And so in the foundation, the team went bananas. So I called up Horse Soldiers Bourbon, or the Green Berets, right? They go, dude, we're in with both feet, because I brought them in last year. So we got Horse Soldiers Bourbon, and my data company is called Blue Fusion. We do a lot of great work with data for law enforcement and the military. And we said, all right, we're going to sponsor this event for the Mac Parkman Foundation, and 100% of every dollar raised will go to fund a veterans treatment program.
Heck yes.
And so that's it, man. With the foundation's not taking a dime. We're there to raise money because we're just aware of all these great treatments that exist for struggling veterans that are coming out of pocket, man. You know, that's like, man, another credit card, whatever. They're taking on debt, and they just want to come back. And we want to make this known. So this is going to be, the AC/DC concert of the year, man. We're going to have them there. We're going to have some raffle. Everybody that gets in is going to get some tickets. We're going to have some really cool raffle items you might win. Can't win if you're not there.
Yep.
And we just had a guy, a Green Beret professional barbecue, Budweiser's barbecue, come on board. He's going to cook all the barbecue he can fit on his grill. We got whiskey. We got Gallo Spirits is bringing in wine. We're going to have like 20 kegs of beer. It's a $50 donation, all you can drink, all the rock and roll you can listen to. We have 2 huge warm-up tents with TVs.
Nice.
So a lot of people don't have tickets to go in the stadium. We're going to have a watch party, and you can keep drinking and have all your fun. We got a new sponsor, Previdence, which is a mental health assessment piece of software that can identify. Yeah, they can identify. To get them on the show, Denny.
Yeah.
They can identify men and women at risk of harm to themselves or others with like huge amount of success. And then they also have their own therapy treatment program that's not designed like a lot of therapy treatments. They never end, right? They find something else to talk about. These treatment programs are designed to get you back on the job with no more therapy. They've created their own form of therapy. So anyways, they're one of our new sponsors right now. And every week we get, another sponsor. I mean, it's really turned into a great event. It's the first one. So we're going to keep doing it. Baltimore's next year.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Man, I can't wait for this to kick off. And I know it's going to generate a lot of support from general audience. So to our listeners out there, you know what to do. Go to the episode description, click the link, donate. We cannot advocate and support this cause enough. Man, Bruce, you got a lot of work to do, man. We're going to have to let you go so you can get some more work.
Dude, I'm still recovering. I walked 8 to 10 miles yesterday. I got here in Denver because we're going to have an early Thanksgiving at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And I'm up at, dude, when it comes to our son and when it comes to veterans, you leave it all on the field, man. I'm going to keep going till the Lord takes me. But no, man, we really appreciate the audience's attention, participation. Spread the awareness, please. Let people know this is not about money. Money doesn't, hurt when it comes to treating veterans, but this is about attention. We're building the buzz because when Congress starts reaching out on this bill, we want you there to say, look, this is a problem and you need to do something about it because we haven't done. We have 160,000 dead soldiers right now, 20 times the amount that we lost in combat. We don't know how many of them might have been impacted by repetitive blast exposure and never knew this. So if we're going to recognize this is an issue, we have to take this seriously, and we need to move forward as a community, as veterans, as researchers, as the military and the VA, all of us as a team, figuring out what to do and what to do now. We don't need to research this crap. I mean, we've already researched it to death. We know it's an issue. We have to act. And then we can, this is all about taking care of our veterans. We have to reach out to them. We have to find them. We have to let them know there's hope, there's treatment. And the Mac Parkman Foundation, we send people to the specialists. We don't do these services. Our job is to be the voice for this issue and then send you where you need to go. We don't do these things, but we know the people that do. And if you have a question, just reach out to the foundation. My email is available. It's Bruce at mpfact.com. Reach out anytime. Find the book, send it to everybody with kids, and together we can defeat this issue. We can make sports safer. We can protect our veterans and get them treated. And the military's already down the road, man. They are making amazing gains with working with suppressed weapons and changing training tactics and lowering the amount of times you can fire these weapons. They're working on the future. Right now, we've got the now and we've got the past that we have to address. And that's why we're all in this together. So, Denny, thank you so much for your time, bro. You are
Absolutely,
an
brother,
unyielding force of nature. I love you. And what you're doing for our community on your own is amazing, man. And I can't wait to the next podcast.
Heck yeah, brother. It'll be coming up soon. Till then, take care, guys. We'll see you all next time.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Take care. We'll see you in a bit.